Hey, and welcome to another edition of the Clarity Cafe, episode 9. I'm Josh, I'm your host, and if you're here in the school community, welcome back. And if you're watching this on YouTube, then check the link, one of these two places. You can go and join my free school community, and they'll be uploading much more all about health, wellness, and I work as a intuitive guide, so I book sessions with people, help people shorten the distance between 2 points on their health and wellness journey, and kind of ties things. I always say it's 5 pillars, right? It's energetic, spiritual, emotional, mental, and last place, any kind of discomfort, chronic condition, disease shows up is physically. So unless the other four have been addressed on some level, things result. Not always, but in most cases. So um, glad you're here, and let's get right into it. Today, I am going to talk about something that I think is really important that actually doesn't really get addressed a lot or at all. And let's talk about it. And that is geopathic stress. Maybe you've never heard of it. It can be described in many different ways. Um, but depending on where you live, in a house, in a yurt, in a teepee, in an apartment, there are ley lines, right? All across the planet. There are energy vortices. And when there's intersecting ley lines, they can cause imbalances in our physiology, physically. Yeah. And a lot of times, again, you go, right, you have headaches, migraines, dizziness. I mean, there's so many assaults that we have all over the place. Like it's coming from the sky, coming from the air, the water, the food, right? I'm not Captain Doomsday here. I'm just saying, I'd rather be awake and aware than numb and dumb. And not dumb that you're stupid, but, dumbed down with not kind of, your low dopamine you can see, but you can't perceive, as uh, one of the gentlemen that I like, Dr. Jack Cruz, will say. And it's important because you need to know where you are in relation to everything around you, right? The seen and the unseen. Okay. And that kind of spills over into sort of energetic hygiene or spiritual hygiene, but that I can do on another episode. So let me go right into it. I'm going to do a screen share here, and we're going to talk about geopathic stress and how that really affects us. Okay. So understanding geopathic stress, the impact of ley lines on health and wellness. And I will add this as a link, as an attachment PDF in this video, both on school and on YouTube. And it's something short, but straightforward, something you consider. And the disclaimer is this is not medical advice. Excuse me, this is just entertainment. Consider these things. Don't believe a word I say. Do your own research, right? There's plenty of avenues for research. And just, again, the thing that I really like to say is we get so impacted with knowledge and data, right, on a day-to-day, minute-to-minute basis, from every social media platform to things we see, advertising, marketing, promotions, blah, 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 influencers, creators, such as myself, right? And you really have to tune in. I always bring it to center, inner reflection for outer direction. I'll constantly say this. And because it is all about utilizing your source given gifts of intuition, feeling, emotion, and discernment, which really provides you sort of like I call it like a multidimensional compass, your true north, your cosmic north. Okay. And um, anyway, so let's get into it. And that's why it's important to really tune in with those feelings. And, you'll be surprised at what happens. The abilities you have on, like skill sets like PSC, psychic energies, mediumship skills, clairvoyant skills, extrasensory perception, telekinesis, telepathy. These are all natural things, but they're natural endogenous attributes, abilities, skills, talents that we all have to a greater or lesser degree. But the things that impact our ability to sense, feel, utilize those things are things such as geopathic stress, where we're located, technology, EMF, screens, non-native EMF, dirty electricity. There's a host of things. But again, adapt, improvise, overcome, right? AIO, just like if you're a boomer, Gen Z, not Gen Z, but, EIEIO, I call it AIO. I learned that from one of my mentors early on. Okay, so let's get into it. This basically is exploring the concept of geopathic stress. Sorry if I'm reading it, I'm just going to do that. Just keeps me on target here. And their profound effects on human and animal health. Because animals also, you may know this, I'll talk about this in a minute. It delves into the significance of being situated on the right ley lines and grid locations, emphasizing how these factors can influence overall wellness as we sort of navigate our as we sort of navigate where I lost my focus. As we navigate our living and working environments, understanding these elements can be crucial for making informed decisions about where to reside or establish workplaces. Now, maybe, drop a comment below. Let me know if you have any questions or comments, whether you're on school or on YouTube. If you've got any information or experiences related to geopathic stress, share, because it's a community here. That's what school is. It's a community where we're all involved, we're all interacting and sharing things. And again, on YouTube, once you come off YouTube into school, you'll see it's more of a we're kind of like-minded. I want to say not like a hive mind, but we're just kind of all on the same trajectory, the same journey, right? Spiritual, energetic, sort of the outliers, wanting to know more, get to the source of things, which is where I've always come from. So the health effects, it has ley lines and grids and informed decisions. That's pretty much what this is all about. And you would be surprised. It's kind of hard. Like if you're at home in your office or if you're at work, right, in a building, and you're trying to come up with an idea or you're thinking about something and you step outside, and if there's, depending on where you live, if there's a park or somewhere in nature you can go and you just, take your shoes and socks off or your, whatever, and connect to the earth, you will find that changes your, heart variability rate, it just lowers your heart rate and your pulsation rhythms, because what happens is you become in alignment and you're able to transmit and transduce the signal that you're getting wirelessly from the sun and from the cosmos. Okay. People use all types of interpretations. I'm channeling the angels, the this, the that. That's a whole other area we can get into. But in general, just your own sense, your inner sense of knowing. So like I said, if you're in an office or in a place where you've got a lot of electrical things, or, my office and it's kind of like I've got stuff everywhere because I'm constantly researching and doing things. So I have a lot of things. But if I need clarity, I'm able to go to the beach, right? When I get there, that clears my field, my bioenergetic field. My feet are connected to the earth. I'm picking up that Schumann resonance. I'm more in harmony to really look at things and, reflect on something. Say I have to make a big decision about something. It's just a great way to do that, to move away from where there is geopathic stress, okay? So geopathic stress refers to the negative effects on health caused by natural or man-made. It's both, okay? It's natural and man-made. Electromagnetic fields. These stress points can arise from various sources, including underground water streams, geological faults, and even artificial structures. The presence of these stressors can lead to a range of health issues, from fatigue and sleep disturbances to more serious conditions. One thing that I will say that I've noticed, and maybe you have too, your bed, the type of bed you sleep on. If you have metal coils, right, and your bed is against a wall that has electric outlets, well, guess what? There's jump conduction going on from the electric outlets to those coils. So that can cause disturbance, irritability, lack of sleep. You're always in a sympathetic mode, which is fight or flight, right? Sleep is for rest and digest, parasympathetic. So for women, it triggers, for guys, it triggers cortisol, women, norepinephrine. And it's just like go, go, go. It's irritability, can't relax. So that's one thing. So we're talking about, geological faults, artificial structures, health issues, right? And research suggests, and again, do your own, not just what I'm telling you, you can look deeper into this. Research suggests that prolonged exposure to geographic stress can weaken the immune system. Okay. And, if you got your phone on you all day, a tablet, you're sitting at a desk at a computer for 8+ hours, you know, even as a creator and influencer, if you're out there and you're doing this stuff. And the one thing I forgot, which I need to have, my blue blockers, even during the day. These things help to minimize the stress on the eyes and the amygdala, the pituitary, right? So these are the things that make a huge deal. So headaches, anxiety, migraines, general malaise. Understanding the locations of these stress points can empower individuals to make choices and promote their health. So again, the correlations, the pros, the cons. Better health choices, the cons: weak immune systems, improved immune system, disrupted sleep, better sleep, chronic illness, and so forth and so on. Okay. Animals. So if you have dogs or cats, animals are like dialed in. They have their own internal monitoring system. That's why you'll see dogs, if you're outside and your dog, he goes around in circles. He's picking up on energy points. Where is the place? Not so much that he's looking for the scent of some other animal. It's also he's picking up on the energy, or she's picking up on the energy of what's happening there. I don't own pets. I shouldn't say own. I don't, house them. I don't have them, right? But that's one of the things that they do. Cats are similar, but animals just are dialed in. If we watch animals in nature, for the most part, they're tuned into their intuition. They have higher sensory perceptions. And so animals are susceptible to geopathic stress, often exhibiting behavioral changes or health issues when exposed to these negative energies. Pets may become restless, anxious, or develop unexplained health problems in geopathic zones. Recognizing these patterns can help pet owners create healthier. Whoops. Wait. I'm sorry about that. These patterns can help pet owners create healthier environments for their furry companions. So, this little graphic, unexplained health problems. So I will also add some links of geopathic stress. One of the things that people can do to test, there's certain devices, but there's also certain natural things. People use dowsing rods. They've done that in different cultures to detect water veins, where water is, right? That's like a stick that's got two sort of branches on it, and they move around. The stick will actually be drawn to sort of magnetic frequencies, I believe. I may not be explaining the technical part of it, but because it's conductive, a stick, sort of like a staff. When, Gandalf from Lord of the Rings would walk with a staff, there's something very significant energetically with a staff, because that wood is conductive, and through your own field in biology, you're able to do things with a staff. And aside from this, just kind of drawing the correlation and the connection to this, right? So I will put some links in here of ways to use dowsing. And again, you have to tune in with yourself and feel what feels right for you, right? Because I know some people are just not into this. And if you're not, that's okay. Obviously you don't have to watch the rest of this, or I'm just putting it out there for consideration. Okay. So the importance of ley lines and grid locations. Ley lines are believed to be alignments of energy that traverse the earth, which they do. You can go on Google Maps, and I think there's even a ley line thing. Now, I don't know how accurate they are, again, but it's something for you to observe. Google Earth has it, I believe, and there may be other websites or places that show where these ley lines are. And you can check to see your location, your longitude, latitude, see where you're located in relation to a ley line. And if you are someone that's having certain chronic conditions or something like that, right, you may want to consider that. Notice, maybe, take note, maybe get a journal that if you feel certain things, right, just randomly, don't give it meaning. But if you're home and you get up in the day, just kind of track your day. And then go to someplace out in nature and then notice the difference, the variances. Are you more calm? Is your anxiety less? Do you feel more peaceful? Do, the feelings and emotions and the thoughts that you have seem to just be more, mainline? They're not spiked. Your head isn't running all the time. Different people have, different variances of these conditions, and some don't even know. They just attribute it to something, some sort of like, they'll give it a label, ADHD, whatever, right? I'm not into labels because those casting spells. And I can explain that in another video at some point. But you get what I'm saying, right? Cool. All right, moving on. So we talked that, yeah, connecting health issues. So here we go. Ley line intersections. Positive energy flow, disruption, negative energy accumulation. Sacred sites, energy concentration, spiritual significance. So places like I've been to Machu Picchu in Peru, very amazing place, right? That plateau there in Cusco, and it's just unbelievable, the energy there, right? So these very significant places, Easter Island, I'm not saying they have to be those specific places, but they have some sort of spiritual, energetic significance, whether you believe it or not. These are just facts. They've been measured, they've been calibrated, calculated, written about for God knows how long. All right. Magnetic fields, right? So underground water streams, even some of the newer neighborhoods now, you will see, they have these 5G towers, and those towers are anchored into the ground. If you think that doesn't have any effect on your health, you better think again. You may want to consider when you move somewhere, if you're in the process of moving or considering moving, I would say closer to nature, not these big mega, smart cities with Wi-Fi, and that's just going to cook you like you've never been cooked before. You're like living, and even buildings, right? The higher up you go in a building, you can ground yourself with, say, copper wire all the way into the earth. But if you're at the 30th or 40th floor, the higher you go, the more polarized the electromagnetic field is. That's why pilots, people that go in airplanes, they have a host of, you know, constant health conditions, right? Because you're not connected to the earth, and the higher you go in altitude wide, the more polarized the electromagnetic field is. Okay, so health issues, underground, magnetic field anomalies, geological inabilities. I'm also going to put a book by Sam Millman, I think his name is. It's called Dirty Electricity. So I'll make a note of that. Dirty Electricity by Sam Millman. I think he's got some videos on YouTube too. He talks about it and how it's directly correlated to a lot of health issues. So if you're someone right now that's watching this and you really have a lot of issues and you're at your wit's end, and I'm directing this to those specific people, allopathic doctors, from what I've uncovered, I'm not saying all, but most just really don't make this association or bring that into even considering that, because it's not part of their curriculum or part of their indoctrination when they get their licenses or degrees, Masonic degrees. Again, I draw you back to you, inner direction for outer reflection. Okay. And you may find that the practices, the protocols, some simple things you can do in nature, getting sunlight in your eyes, going for a walk, getting your feet connected to the earth, being out in nature, can really pivot and give you a 180 reset. Okay, so I'm just throwing that out there. All right, natural landmarks, making informed decisions, right? So when considering a new location or for living or working, it is essential to assess the geopathic stress points and ley lines in the area. Tools such as dowsing rods, which I mentioned earlier, or geopathic stress detection devices can aid in identifying these factors. Additionally, consulting with experts in geomancy or energy healing can provide valuable insights into creating a harmonious living or working environment, right? That's key. And again, here you go, a little graphic for that. Assessing geopathic stress for a harmonic environment. You can find people. I'll put some links down here for you to just consider, but you can kind of, riff off of that and, use the words and terminology to further your search and investigation. Excuse me one sec. Sorry if I popped the microphone there. Let's see, continuing on. Okay, dowsing rods. Conclusion. So, understanding geopathic stress and the significance of ley lines is vital for promoting health and wellness in our lives. Be aware of these factors, as Wim Hof says. Be aware, take care, then share. We can make informed decisions about where to live and work, ultimately enhancing our quality of life and that of our animals as we continue to explore the relationship between our environments and our well-being. And we can foster healthier, more balanced spaces for ourselves and our loved ones, human and animal. So it does make a difference. You know, this is really this last part, harmonize your space for wellness. Again, the environmental factors, the ley lines, behavioral changes. I think, is that it? That's my last slide. There you go. So that pretty much covers, what this is really all about, you know? And when you have this awareness, right? Think about this. Did you know this previously? So how does it make you feel? Does it give you more expansion? Does it just make you consider like, wow, I never thought of this before. I've never seen this. I've never considered it, right? But these are the types of things, little shifts, little awarenesses, dot connecting, right? That can really support and help you to make changes without a major expenditure, without having to go get all these tests, blood tests, and everything else. And they inevitably just really don't provide you the confidence in making the shifts. In my experience, right? You may have a different understanding of that. So it's really important to seek out, if you are going to work with a practitioner, someone that really knows their stuff, right? It's not like this airy fairy woo woo stuff. And I'm into, believe me, the multidimensional. But in this day and age, you know, they're popping up everywhere. You can look at someone's dossier and I'm a master this and I'm a this and I'm a that. I'm like, how can you be all these things? I mean, maybe you can. I'm looking for someone that's sort of like, not that you niche down and you're just a specialist in one area, and the other thing too is I look for people that just really have the experience, the book knowledge, the certificates, the accolades, the diplomas, the degrees. Yeah, that's all nice, but where did that curriculum come from? Who wrote it? Where is your own discernment? You know, your own intuition. That is personal. That's your own energetic signature. That's why, again, I'm reminding you to go back to nature, connect internal and inner reflection for outer direction. And you will find, I would venture to guess, that you will have just a more solid understanding of things, of the machinations of how these systems work. And then, in essence, your own sort of higher self or expanded self, whatever you want to label it, right? You'll be guided. And you open up the opportunity to do the research and by experiences. Because that, to me, again, I kind of draw back to intuition. Intuition is very random. It kind of circumvents your ego, because your ego is always trying to keep you safe, comfortable, where you don't do anything, right? And that's what we have. We have a planet of comfortable people right now with technology, not doing anything. They're relying, they're giving their power away, being submissive to technology. And it's not that way. Again, I quote Prince: you can use a computer, but don't let the computer use you. You can use a phone, don't let the phone use you. And just fill in the blank, right? That's self-empowerment. And I am not perfect at it. I will tell you, I'm not preaching. I do my best to walk my talk. I don't always. That's me. That's honest, But as much as I can, I do what I can to mitigate things. Even on my computer screen, I have iris.co, Iris Tech, IRISTECH.co. It's a software that changes the color temperature. So it's actually orange on my screen, just like my blue blockers. And I'll put a link for the blue blockers if you're interested in that, right? Some little nuggets. These are all things that they add up. They help in mitigating health and preventing any further, physiological, biological, energetic assault, damage. And so there you have it. If you have any questions, comments on YouTube, drop them below. In school, let me know. You can respond in a video. Love to hear from you. I hope you enjoyed this. Hope this provided some, some great insights. And until next week, all right? Have yourself a beautiful day. Have yourself a beautiful day. All right. Lots of love. Stay healthy, my friends.